Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dory and this channel is all about hiking gear, hiking tips and tricks, and everything you need to know about hiking. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to select a campsite for a comfortable night's sleep. Okay, so the first tip I have for you is to always avoid open spaces where you can. And what you can do instead is find some kind of sheltered campsite. And the reason being is if you camp in an open space, then you're not protected from the elements. If you know it's going to be a stormy or a windy night, then I would suggest to always look for a sheltered campsite, alright? Now, if it's a really beautiful night, then, there's nothing wrong with camping in an open space. But if you know that it's going to be windy, just always look for some kind of shelter. With shelter, I mean you can pitch your tent in between trees or in between some bushes that are there that can give you some kind of protection from the elements. The second thing to look out for is never pitch your tent on fragile vegetation because they take a long time to recover, okay? So here in Western Australia we have so many beautiful wildflowers and very fragile vegetation. I'm talking about the dunes or any kind of plants. So what I would do is always look for existing campsites. The third tip I have for you can actually save your life, and it is where you want to pitch your tent. It's not only important to look around you but also to look up, because there might be trees around you that have dead branches, and you have to be very careful with those dead branches or trees that have branches that might fall down. They are called widow makers, and they're called widow makers for a reason. And that is, if you're comfortably sleeping at night, they might fall on top of your tent, and that's gonna be the end of you. So always make sure you look above you for branches that might break and fall on top of you in the middle of the night. A classic example is gum trees. So I would personally never camp underneath a gum tree because it's just, I've seen branches fall off gum trees where you think like, oh my god, that's almost the whole tree. Anyway, it's not the whole tree, but it's just a massive branch that just broke off for no reason. And gum trees are very well known for that. Tip number 4. So we talked about looking around you, look for shelter, look for dead trees and falling branches, but also very important, and this is not only for yourself but mostly for your gear, is that you look for sharp objects on the ground. Just make sure that there's no sharp rocks or sticks that might puncture your tent or ground sheet. You might just puncture a hole in your very expensive tent. And as you can imagine, that's probably not the best news you will have all day. Plus, also you don't want a rock in the middle of your tent, so then you can sleep on it and it will have a rock sticking into your back. Great fun. Before you pitch your tent, always check where the wind is coming from, because you might just prevent an uncomfortable night by pitching your tent in the right angle, okay? So not every tent has the same shape, but some tents are more susceptible to catch the wind if they are pitched in a certain way. Next thing, also before you pitch your tent, always test your spot, and I do this all the time. Just lie flat on the ground and see if you're in any dip, if you're on an angle or something like that, because if you do it before you pitch your tent, it's a lot easier to adjust your position. You might just pitch your tent in a dip or something like that, but what if it rains and you wake up in a puddle? That's not going to be fun. So it's a good idea to watch for puddles, swampy areas, but also for slopes. It will make your night a lot more comfortable if you find a spot before you go to sleep. Another tip about water is to always camp away from water. It's good practice to camp at least 50 meters away from any water source, and I would even say 100 meters. So the next tip I have for you is beneficial for you but also for other hikers, because it is to never camp too close to other people. And the reason I say that is because, well, first of all, you might camp next to someone who snores. Secondly, they might have a sleeping pad that is really noisy, and guess what, that's definitely going to disrupt your sleep. Something that's really important to know, but it's not imperative, okay, but it does help when you try and set up camp before sunset, because once the sun goes down you have about, I think, 20 minutes before it goes completely dark. And trust me, especially when you're a beginner, it's really not easy to set up a tent at night and find a really good spot, so I'm not always the best example for that, because I always find myself pushing myself to do extra miles, and sometimes that results in me having to pitch my tent in the dark. So then the last tip I have for you is something that I always do, and that is plan and locate your camping spots in advance. What I always do is I go on Google Maps and I find a trail that I'm going on, and then you can actually have an idea how far away potential campsites are. If you have official campsites, of course you don't need to do that, but it's always a good idea to have a look to see what's around you if you don't make it to the next campsite. Just be prepared for what you're going into. Alright, so these were my most important tips for finding a really good camp spot. If you think of anything else, then please let me know in the comments below. But for me, this is what I pay attention to when I want to find a camping spot. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, because then YouTube knows that you like this video and it will probably show it to a few more people. So if you want to help me and this channel, then please give this a thumbs up. And also, if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe. I have a lot more content coming and I can't wait to share it with you guys. Alright, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, so I'm gonna actually find another spot because I'm like really itchy already. Not only for you, but also for others. If you have a really loud mattress, is you can apply all the previous tips easier if the sun is still out. I will talk about it in my other video about leaving no trace. So many birds today. Another tip I want to give you for your own comfort: try not to